Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every person's life when they must make a choice, not between right and wrong, not between good and evil, but between motion and stillness, and in that moment your destiny is decided. You may have a dream, you may have a vision, you may even have a detailed plan, but until you move, until you act, all of it remains a mirage in the desert of your imagination. The greatest illusion ever sold is the lie that we must feel ready to begin. That the stars must align, the mood must be right, the fear must be gone, but the truth is this: you will never feel ready, you will never be fearless, you will never be fully prepared, and so what? Winners don't wait for the winds to blow in their favor. They adjust their sails and command the storm. Force is not violence. Force is the discipline to rise when the mind begs for rest. Force is the courage to speak when your voice trembles. Force is the decision to take one more step even when the path ahead is dark. You do not build strength in comfort, you build it in resistance. If you wish to shape your life, you must first master yourself. That means doing what you said you would do, long after the mood you said it in has left you. That means showing up when no one is watching and no one is clapping. That means silencing the inner voice that says later, and replacing it with the command now. You say you want success, then chase it down. You say you want greatness, then outwork every excuse that tries to steal your time. The men and women who achieve extraordinary things are not those who had fewer obstacles. They are the ones who acted anyway. They didn't wait to feel like it, they forced themselves to do it. Burn this into your mind: motion creates momentum. The first step is always the hardest because it breaks inertia. But once you move, the second step is easier, and the third begins to carry its own power. One small action can build an avalanche of progress. The world does not reward the thinker who never acts. It rewards the doer, the one who leaps while others hesitate. So the next time doubt visits you, the next time you feel paralyzed by fear, you remember this truth: action cures fear. You do not wait for confidence, you earn it in the fire of discipline. Force yourself into action, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary, and when you do, you will find that the power you thought you lacked was never missing, it was waiting. Waiting for you to act. Action is the bridge between desire and achievement. This is a truth that cannot be escaped, denied, or rewritten. You may possess the most vivid dreams, the highest ambition, the most passionate desire to succeed, but if you do not take action, those desires will wither and die in the waiting room of your mind. Desire alone is not enough. You cannot will success into existence by thought alone. Thought is the beginning, desire is the fire, but action, deliberate, focused, consistent action, is the vehicle that carries your vision from the realm of imagination into the world of reality. The man who dreams of building a great enterprise but never takes the first bold step remains nothing more than a dreamer. The woman who sees in her mind a life of abundance, contribution, and power but does not act will be left only with the echoes of potential. Every bridge must be built, every journey must be taken, and every dream must be acted upon, or it will fade into the mist of forgotten intentions. Desire is necessary, but it is only the seed. Action is the water, the sunlight, the nourishment. It is what turns that seed into something living, something powerful, something that bears fruit. Without action, desire becomes frustration. Without movement, dreams become burdens. You will begin to resent the very thing you once loved because you stood still too long. You will grow bitter watching others move forward, while you remain locked inside your thoughts, endlessly planning, endlessly waiting. There is a reason why so many people live far below their potential. It is not because they lack vision or talent or intelligence. It is because they refuse to act. They study, they analyze, they prepare, but they never begin. They convince themselves that more time is needed, that the moment isn't right, that the path isn't clear. They wait for permission, for clarity, for signs. But the only sign that ever mattered was this: the vision itself. If it came to you, then it belongs to you. And if it belongs to you, then you have the obligation to pursue it. Not someday, not when the fear goes away. Now, action is the test of commitment. When you act, you tell the world, and yourself, that you are serious, that you are not just a talker, not just a thinker, but a doer. This is where self-respect is born. This is where confidence begins, not from applause, not from approval, but from the deep inner knowing that you did what you said you would do, that you moved forward when everything inside you screamed to wait. Achievement is not something that falls into your lap. It is not luck. It is not fate. It is the result of disciplined, intentional action, often repeated long after the excitement has faded. You will not always feel like it. You will not always be inspired, but those who rise to greatness have trained themselves to act anyway. They understand that action fuels emotion, that momentum is born through motion. They don't wait for motivation. They create it through action. The gap between the life you have and the life you want can only be crossed by action, not by wishing, not by hoping, not by sitting still and thinking positive thoughts. Those things have their place. But they are not the bridge. They are the wind at your back, not the engine of your progress. The bridge is built by doing, one step at a time, one decision at a time, one disciplined moment after another. You must learn to move even when the outcome is uncertain. That is the essence of faith. That is the test of courage. It is easy to act when you know you will win, but the people who build extraordinary lives act in uncertainty. They step into the unknown. They take the risk. They trust that even if they fall, they can rise again, that even if they fail, they will be stronger for it, because in the act of moving, they become more than they were before. This is the secret that separates the average from the exceptional. It is not resources, it is not background, it is not even talent. It is the ability to act when others hesitate, to take the first step when others are still wondering. To move forward while others are waiting for guarantees. It is this ability, this force of will, that shapes destinies and alters the course of lives. Every great accomplishment began with a moment of action. Not a moment of perfection, not a moment of clarity, but a moment of courage. That is all it takes. One step, one decision, one movement in the direction of your desire, and once you begin, something changes. You shift from passive observer to active creator. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You are shaping them. You are no longer hoping for change. You are causing it. Action sharpens your vision. The more you move, the clearer things become. The path you could not see from the starting line reveals itself as you walk. The confusion that clouded your mind begins to lift. The fog of doubt is burned away by the fire of execution. You will not have all the answers in the beginning, but you will earn them through action. You will learn, you will adapt, you will grow. The moment you stop waiting and start acting, you reclaim your power. You no longer hand over your destiny to chance or fear. You no longer allow excuses to govern your future. You become the cause, not the effect, the leader, not the follower, the builder, not the bystander. So remember this, whatever you desire, freedom, wealth, impact, growth, it lies on the other side of action. You must move toward it. You must reach for it. You must be willing to face discomfort, resistance, and uncertainty to claim it. There is no shortcut, no detour, no escape from this truth. Action is the price, and the one who is willing to pay that price consistently, day after day, will build the life others only talk about. Waiting for the perfect moment is a trap that kills dreams. It is one of the most seductive illusions. A person can fall into the idea that there will come a day when everything aligns, when fear disappears, when clarity shines like a beacon and the path forward is smooth and obvious. But that day never comes. Not for the successful, not for the courageous, not for the ones who rise above the ordinary. The truth is simple and often uncomfortable. The perfect moment is a myth. You will find that the people who wait for the timing to be right, wait for the fear to go away, wait for more money, more support, more certainty, are often the same people who live lives of quiet frustration. They are the ones who talk about what they could have done, should have done, would have done. Their dreams remain unfulfilled, not because they lacked desire, but because they surrendered to hesitation. Perfection is the enemy of progress. It disguises itself as preparation, as prudence, even as wisdom. But in most cases it is fear wearing a clever mask, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. These fears convince people that action must wait until every variable is known, every risk is measured, every step is secure, and while they sit calculating, life moves on. Opportunities pass, time slips away, and what could have been greatness fades into regret. There is no perfect moment. There is only now, now when you feel uncertain, now when you're scared, now when you're unsure how it will all work out. Now is the only moment you truly own. The successful understand this. They understand that motion must begin before mastery. They act, not because they have all the answers, but because they know answers come through action. They move forward in faith, knowing that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite it. The myth of the perfect moment leads to paralysis. You begin to believe that without ideal conditions, nothing you do will matter. That if you start and it's not flawless, it's not worth doing, but the path to mastery is built on imperfect steps. Every expert was once a beginner. Every success story started with awkward attempts, missteps, and moments of doubt. It is only through the act of doing that one becomes better, sharper, more confident. If you wait until you're ready, you'll never begin. And if you never begin, you will never become the person you were meant to be. This trap is especially dangerous because it feels rational, it feels responsible. You tell yourself you're being wise by waiting, that you're just not there yet. But how do you get there without starting? Progress does not come through passive delay. It comes through action. No matter how small the step, it moves you forward. No matter how imperfect the start, it carries you away from stagnation. Greatness is not born from waiting. It is born from doing, from stepping into the unknown, from trusting yourself enough to try, to fall, and to rise again. You do not need to be fearless. You need to be willing, willing to risk discomfort, willing to take a chance, willing to begin before you feel fully prepared. Because the truth is, no one ever feels fully prepared. Not the entrepreneur, not the athlete, not the artist, not the leader. They simply chose to begin anyway. The moment you stop waiting for perfection is the moment you gain power. You break the chains of doubt. You stop outsourcing your future to circumstance. You take control. This is the mindset of the driven, the focused, the relentless. They don't need the perfect weather to begin their race. They run through the storm. They don't need silence to find their voice. They speak through the noise. They don't need certainty to act. They move with conviction. What you must understand is this: the cost of waiting is not just time. It is confidence. It is energy. It is belief. Every day you delay action, your faith in yourself erodes just a little more. You begin to doubt whether you're really capable, really ready, really worthy. But every time you act, no matter how small the action, you reclaim belief. You prove to yourself that you are not held hostage by fear or doubt. So many people are trapped by this idea of when the time is right. They think success begins with external permission, a sign from the world that says, now you may begin. But no sign will ever come. You are the signal, your desire, your vision, your dream. That is all the permission you need. If it lives within you, then it is yours to pursue, not someday, now. Time does not wait. Life does not pause until you feel ready. Opportunities will not stand still while you gain courage. If you do not move, they move on. The world rewards action, not potential. It celebrates the ones who tried, who built, who dare. Imperfectly, boldly, courageously. It remembers those who began, not those who waited. You do not have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. You do not need to know every detail of the path. Just begin the journey. Clarity comes through engagement, not thought. You will learn faster by doing than by thinking about doing. And in that doing, you will discover strengths you didn't know you had. You will uncover abilities that would have remained hidden had you waited. Every person who has ever built something remarkable has had to begin without certainty. They started with a spark, not a blueprint. They moved forward in darkness, trusting that the light would come. And it always does. for those who refuse to stand still. Waiting feels safe, but in truth it is the most dangerous choice you can make, because while you wait, others act. While you pause, others move. And those who move shape the future, yours included. Do not let hesitation become your habit. Do not let fear disguise itself as logic. Do not let perfection steal what progress could have delivered. You will never find the perfect moment. But you can create a powerful one, right here, right now. All it takes is a decision to begin. Discipline begins when comfort ends. It is in the moments when everything inside you wants to stop, when your mind pleads for rest and your emotions cry out for relief. That is where discipline is born. Discipline is not forged in the easy hours. It does not grow in the calm, the smooth, the convenient. It takes root in resistance. It grows in discomfort. It is shaped by the trials you'd rather avoid, and it is revealed when there is every reason to quit, but you don't. Most people mistake discipline for motivation. They think they need to feel inspired in order to act. But discipline is not a feeling. It is a decision. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes. It rises with excitement and vanishes with fatigue. But discipline remains. Discipline shows up when you don't want to. Discipline works when motivation has long since disappeared. It is the quiet force that keeps you on the path when the journey becomes lonely, boring, and hard. Comfort is the enemy of growth. It is soft, inviting, seductive, but it makes you weak. It tells you to slow down when you should be speeding up. It urges you to wait when you need to act. It wraps you in the illusion of safety while quietly stealing your potential. Every time you choose comfort over effort, you lose a piece of the future you could have built. Every time you stay in bed when you promised to rise early, every time you skip the hard task in favor of the easy one, every time you delay action in the name of taking it easy, you give away the strength you were meant to develop. Discipline begins with a choice, and that choice is made in discomfort. When your body is tired, when your mind is doubtful, when your will is thin, that is the moment. That is where it counts. Anybody can do what's easy. Anybody can show up when it's convenient. But those who achieve greatness are those who act in spite of resistance. They are the ones who step forward when comfort says, "Stay here." They are the ones who push one more time, lift one more rep, write one more word, even when every part of them wants to stop. You must train yourself to move toward discomfort, not away from it. The more you flee from the hard things, the more power they gain over you. The more you face them, the smaller they become. Discomfort is the forge of discipline. It is where your character is strengthened, your resolve tested, and your capacity expanded. Every time you endure, every time you resist the temptation to give in, you build something inside yourself that no one can take from you. Discipline does not shout. It whispers. It says, "Go again." It says, "Do it now." It says, "Keep going," even when no one else is watching. Especially when no one else is watching, because that is when it matters most. Not when the spotlight is on, but when it's just you and the decision in front of you. No audience, no applause, no reward, just the raw truth of effort. And the one who can conquer himself in those moments holds the keys to anything he desires. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack discipline. They quit too soon. They back down too easily. They fold under pressure. They haven't built the muscle of consistency. They live according to their moods. If they feel like it, they do it. If they don't, they make excuses. But discipline does not negotiate. Discipline acts. Discipline gets it done regardless of how it feels, and in that repetition, in that relentlessness, it creates power. There is no greatness without sacrifice, and sacrifice always begins with a rejection of comfort. You give up what is easy for what is meaningful. You surrender the now for the promise of later. You trade temporary pleasure for long-term reward, and that is not a natural instinct. It is a trained response. It is developed through practice, through choosing the harder path again and again until it becomes your default. You will be tempted to ease up, to coast, to rest on past effort, but discipline does not care what you did yesterday. It asks what you're willing to do today. It demands repetition, daily effort, not once, not sometimes, but always. You become disciplined the same way you become anything else, by doing it when you don't feel like it, over and over again, until it becomes part of who you are. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you could become. Every disciplined choice you make, getting up early, eating clean, focusing when it's hard, showing up no matter what, adds to that bridge. Every indulgent choice you make, giving in to laziness, avoiding discomfort, delaying responsibility, chips away at it. Your life becomes the sum of those choices, and the results do not lie. The man who embraces discomfort has an advantage. He does not need perfect conditions. He does not fear the pain of effort. He welcomes it because he knows it's part of the process. He understands that every moment of discomfort is shaping him into someone stronger, someone more capable, someone more disciplined, and eventually someone unstoppable. There is a quiet pride that comes from doing what is hard, from showing up when it's tough, from pushing through when others would quit. That pride becomes confidence, that confidence becomes momentum, and that momentum becomes results. This is the reward of discipline. It transforms your life from the inside out. If you want to win, to grow, to rise, you must learn to be at peace with discomfort. You must become the kind of person who does not shrink from difficulty, but leans into it. You must train your mind to do what is right, not what is easy, to act according to purpose, not emotion, to choose effort over excuse, principle over preference, consistency over convenience. Discipline is not a punishment, it is a gift. It gives you control over your destiny. It gives you strength in the face of adversity. It gives you the power to shape your life, your future, your legacy. But only if you're willing to earn it. Only if you're willing to leave the comfort behind and step into the fire. That's where discipline lives. That's where greatness is forged. The first step always feels the hardest. It's not because it's physically demanding or technically complex, but because it stands between you and the unknown. It is the line between dreaming and doing, between wishing and building, between imagining and becoming. That single step carries the weight of doubt, fear, uncertainty, and yet it also holds the spark of transformation. The moment you take it, everything changes. You stop being a spectator of your life and become the architect of your future. There is tremendous power in beginning, yet most people hesitate. They stand at the edge of possibility and ask too many questions. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if people laugh at me? They convince themselves that waiting is wise, that they'll take action when they have more time, more knowledge, more courage, but that delay is a thief. It robs you of momentum. It chips away at your confidence. And the longer you wait, the heavier the first step feels. It's easy to stay in the planning phase, in the comfort of preparation. You can strategize, research, and dream for years, but none of that matters if you don't move. No book, no mentor, no vision board can replace the power of simply starting. Taking the first step breaks the inertia of inaction. It sends a signal to your mind and to the universe. I'm ready to go forward. I'm ready to become who I'm meant to be. You'll never be fully ready. That's the secret the successful understand. They know that clarity comes through movement, not before it. Action breeds confidence. The first step doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real. Even a small move forward disrupts doubt. It tells fear that it no longer has authority. It tells your subconscious mind, we are no longer stuck. And once you're in motion, it's easier to keep going. Taking that first step isn't about what you do, it's about what you become. You become the person who is willing to try, willing to face uncertainty, willing to pursue something greater than comfort. And with that willingness comes a shift in identity. You're no longer the one who talks, you're the one who acts. You're no longer on the sidelines, you're in the game, and that shift, more than talent, more than luck, more than timing, is what changes your life. What stops most people is not the mountain, but the decision to start climbing. They see the entire journey laid out before them and feel overwhelmed. But here's the truth, you don't have to climb the whole mountain in one day. You only need to take the next step, and then the next. Success is not about one giant leap, it's about a series of small, consistent steps in the direction of your purpose. But none of those steps matter if you don't take the first. Often the first step is silent. There's no applause, no recognition. It happens early in the morning when the world is still asleep. It happens in private, in the moments no one sees. It could be waking up an hour earlier. It could be writing the first page, making the first call, sending the first email, stepping into the gym, saying no to what no longer serves you. These are not dramatic acts, but they are defining ones. They are the seeds of momentum, and momentum, once created, is the most powerful force you can harness. The mind resists the first step because it represents change, and change is uncomfortable. Your mind is built to protect you, not to push you. It will whisper reasons to stay where you are. You're not ready. You'll fail. It's too late. But those are lies. You've been ready. You've just been listening to the wrong voice. The voice of fear is loud, but your vision is stronger. You must choose which one you listen to, and every time you choose action over hesitation, your vision gets louder. The beautiful truth is this: no one is coming to take the first step for you, and that is a gift. Because once you own the responsibility, you also own the power. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't need someone to believe in you. You need only believe in the necessity of beginning. You have everything inside you already: the desire, the strength, the purpose. But you will only discover those qualities in motion. The treasure is not found in thinking. It is found in doing. You will make mistakes. That's part of the process. You will stumble. You will question. You will doubt. But none of that matters if you don't stop. The courage to begin gives you something most people never experience: growth. You start to evolve. You gain perspective. You learn what works and what doesn't. You build resilience. You develop habits. And over time, that first step, which once seemed so daunting, becomes the most important decision you ever made. You must give yourself permission to be imperfect at the start, to be awkward, to be unsure. You're not meant to be great on day one. You're meant to show up, and by showing up, you separate yourself from the masses. You declare that you are not content to merely exist. You are here to expand, to strive, to create. The first step is your declaration. It is your contract with your future self. It says, I will not let fear dictate the direction of my life. There will be voices that say, you've tried before and failed, but the past does not define what you can do now. Every day is a blank page. The first step today is not the same as yesterday's. Today you step forward not because the past is forgotten, but because the future deserves your action. One small act of courage today can shift the entire trajectory of your life. Do not underestimate what one decision can do. Time will pass either way. Whether you start or not, the days will go on. But if you act now, if you take that step today, the days that pass will carry you somewhere new. They will take you from dream to reality, from hesitation to progress. But if you do nothing, you stay in the same place, except with more regret. In the end, it's not the failures that haunt us. It's the chances we never took. The first step is the beginning of all things. It is the door you must open to leave behind your old life and enter the one you're meant to build. It doesn't have to be bold. It just has to be real. It doesn't have to make sense to others. It just has to align with your soul. Because once you move, once you begin, you prove to yourself that you are no longer willing to be confined by fear, by excuses, by comfort. You are willing to act. You are willing to lead yourself forward, and that alone makes you powerful beyond measure. No progress is made until a decision becomes action. This truth is often overlooked in a world that praises vision boards, long-term plans, and endless strategizing. While intention has its place, it means nothing without execution. A decision that remains in your mind is like a seed that never touches soil. It holds potential, but it bears no fruit. The moment that decision becomes action, life begins to shift. You begin to shift. Progress, however small, takes root. That is the essence of achievement, doing, not merely deciding. Many individuals live in a cycle of thinking. They decide they want to be healthier, wealthier, more disciplined, more successful, but days pass and they do not act. They confuse clarity with movement. They think that once they've made up their mind, the work is done, but the decision is only the door. It is action that walks you through it. The power lies not in what you plan, but in what you do. The universe does not respond to your thoughts alone. It responds to movement. It aligns with those who dare to act. Your progress is not measured by what you intend to do someday, but by what you initiate today. It's not about how passionate you are in your convictions. It's about how consistent you are in your efforts. Great ambition without corresponding action becomes nothing more than mental clutter. And when your life becomes cluttered with unfulfilled decisions, it breeds frustration, not fulfillment. You can decide to wake up early, to start a business, to get fit, to become disciplined. But if you do not act, those decisions rot into excuses. They become what-ifs. They haunt your conscience because deep down, you know the truth. The only thing standing between you and progress is movement. Every dream requires a down payment of action, and you cannot delay that payment and still expect to collect the reward. One of the greatest deceptions in the mind is the belief that later is safer than now, that somehow tomorrow will be easier, that next week you'll feel more ready, but the only time you truly own is this moment. And in this moment, you either move or you stay the same. If you wait for the perfect time to act, you'll be waiting forever. Conditions will never be ideal. Your schedule will always be full. Your energy will always fluctuate. If you wait for certainty, you'll miss your chance. Progress favors the bold, not the prepared. Action has a unique way of solving problems that thinking cannot. When you act, you receive feedback. You see results, good or bad, and you learn. Every action reveals a new piece of the puzzle. Every movement forward sharpens your aim. You cannot steer a ship that isn't moving. Likewise, you cannot redirect your life until you start. You may stumble. You may need to adjust course, but stumbling forward is better than standing still with perfect plans in your head and nothing in your hands. We often believe we need more information before we act, but it's not usually knowledge that we lack, it's courage. Knowledge without application is powerless. You already know what to do. You already know what steps to take. What you need is the discipline to follow through, the courage to be uncomfortable, the strength to be consistent when results are invisible. Because real progress isn't made in a day, it's made daily. Each time you act on a decision, you reinforce your identity. You become the kind of person who follows through. Your self-respect grows. Your confidence strengthens. And slowly, the gap between who you are and who you want to become begins to close. There is no greater personal power than aligning your actions with your intentions. That integrity becomes your fuel. It silences doubt, it defeats fear, it propels you forward with a force that even obstacles can't deny. The man who acts, even imperfectly, is always ahead of the man who only plans. Motion builds momentum. One action leads to another, one effort leads to improvement, one decision executed changes the rhythm of your life, and it compounds. A small act repeated over time becomes a habit, that habit becomes a trait. That trait becomes character, and character, built through consistent action, is what defines your destiny. When you finally move on your decisions, the world responds, opportunities appear, people take notice. Resources find their way to you, but these things do not come to the dreamer alone. They come to the doer. They come to the man or woman who shows up even when it's hard, even when no one is watching, even when the reward feels distant. Because true success is not found in dramatic bursts. It is forged in daily action, in doing the work when motivation has faded and only commitment remains. Ask yourself what you've been deciding for too long. What plans have you made in your mind that you've yet to bring into motion? What promises have you made to yourself that you've allowed to collect dust? Those are the areas where your potential is held hostage. And you hold the key, not in another course, not in another talk, but in action, right now, not later, not when you feel like it. Now, you were not born to merely think and talk. You were born to move, to build, to create. Every gift you have, every dream you hold, is waiting on one thing: your willingness to act. If you want to become stronger, take the action. If you want to become successful, take the action. If you want to transform your life, take the action. Thinking will never replace doing. Wishing will never replace working. There is no mystery to progress. It is simple, not easy. Decide and act. Decide again and act again. Keep going. Keep showing up. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. Because it's what separates the average from the exceptional. Because it's what turns potential into power. You will never know how far you can go until you move. You will never know the strength within you until you act in the face of doubt. You will never make progress until you stop preparing and start producing. No more delay, no more waiting, no more convincing yourself that you need more time. What you need is movement. What you need is to act, because the moment you do, your life begins to change, and nothing becomes impossible.